Welcome back to the classes. This is module 3, continuing the function. So, last class we learned the syntax and also a sample problem of the function. Today we will discuss in detail the functions. So, this is a general syntax of the function program. So, I just repeating. You have a header files. You have the main function. You have the sub function. You should define the integer or the parameter before the main function only if the subfunction follows or it is placed after the main function. That is, if the subfunction is written before the main function, you don't need a variable to be represented, or it should be stated here. Coming to this functions in programming, the argument, so these are called as the arguments, like the calling function. The argument, in another term called parameter, it refers to the data which is passed to a function definition while calling it. So when you see this program inside the main function, the calling parameter is called as the actual parameter, and the parameter which accepts the call are called as the formal parameter. So mainly you are calling formally a parameter by using the actual parameter. You can remember in that way. In the above example here, two variables number one and number two are passed to function during the function call, that is represented by this arrow mark. These arguments are also known as actual arguments. So these are called as the actual parameter or actual argument. The value number one and number two are initialized to variables a and b respectively. These arguments a and b are called as the formal arguments. So this is basic theory by naming the parameters. There are some guidelines which you should consider while passing the arguments. Let's see that the number of actual arguments and formal argument should be same. In the previous one, like number corresponds to A, number 2 corresponds to B. So there should be a match between the numbers of actual arguments and the formal arguments. Just leave this one assumption. Okay. The type of first actual argument should match with the type of first formal argument. That means if this number one is in integer type, a should be in integer. If this is in float, this also should be in float. Similarly, the type of second actual argument should match the type of second formal argument, and so on. If there are numerous or more numbers of arguments, you may call function without passing the argument. You can also call the a without passing an argument. The numbers of argument passed to a function depends on how the programmer wants to solve the problem. So it all depends on the logic of the programmer. We can assign default values to the argument. These arguments are called as default arguments without transferring any values to the formal parameter. In the above program, both arguments are of integer type. That is, even the actual as well as the formal are both of integer, but it's not necessary to have both arguments of same type. So it's actually contradictory to the second one. That is, if both are integer, then it's fine. Suppose this is in integer and this is in float, still it works. It only depends on how much decimals are printed in the output. It is clear, but this cannot be an integer and a character. It should be of a similar type of data. There are set cases of default arguments. Case one, no argument passed. We will see this one. If a function is called by passing arguments, those arguments are used by the function. Okay, so the generally the function will call or it passes the arguments to the formal parameter. But if the arguments are not passed while invoking a function, then the default values are used. Default value are passed to the argument in the function prototype. We'll see some examples to make it clear. First one, no argument is passed. If you see, he defined void temp integer defined as 10. This is only the main part. Okay, now the main program here, and this is the sub function. So defined integer equal to 10 and float equal to 8.2. In the main function, define only temp. That means you didn't define the parameters. So there is no arguments are passed from the for actual argument to the form argument. I think it's very clear. In the second one, first argument is passed. Here in the definition, you have first one as integer and second is a decimal float. So inside the main program, you have only the integer, the all number. So only this first argument. Just a minute. Yeah. So only this first argument is called or transferred to the formal parameter. In the case 3, all arguments are passed. You have one integer, one float, and in the main program also you have one integer, one float. This is passed to the corresponding formal argument. So all the arguments, here's 2, all the arguments are passed. Similarly, once you know all these things is very clear. Integer 10, 8.8. Here all decimal is transferred. Decimal is a second argument. So second argument only will be transferred. Okay. We will see a problem of a default argument. Okay. This is something very special. In the case of default arguments, you have the hash include input output string. Okay. Using namespace std. Okay, which is common for all the program. Here you are defining the variables before the main function. Suppose I told clearly, if you are defining the void display, that means this part, if you are defining before the integer, then you don't need a not to define this one. Okay. Okay. So as we are doing the main function before the sub function, we are describing or we are initializing the values. Void display, void display character. Display is a function called name function name. Character is star and integer is one. But this is the explanation. And okay, integer main bracket curly bracket cout. No argument passed. So this is actually the output part. You can just compare with this. No argument passed. So directly this will be typed here. Display. So when the display comes, you can clearly see that no argument is passed. This is the case of the first one. No argument is passed. Okay. So when this is run, by default, the first star will be coming in the output. Next one, cout, first argument passed. So display, you have the first hash here. So only the first is passed. So this control will come to here. Then this will be executed in the for loop. So character C. Okay, you have the character as hash. So only one time it is running, and you have the hash here. In the second one, this is the main one. Both arguments passed. So both arguments passed will come here. You have display dollar sign 5. So once it comes to this program, this printing will happen for 5 number of times due to this for loop. Okay, so just keep on going, and 5 times the dollar sign will be printed here. So this is basically to demonstrate the default arguments. Such cases of uh, like the previous one, no arguments passed, first argument passed, and all the arguments passed. Return statement. We already went through this one, but to make it theory, a function can return. Yeah, yeah. So a function can return a single value to the calling program using the return statement. A function can return the single value to the calling program. So here, yeah, this for a change. So you have the main function here, and you have the sub function here. So this statement tells that the value which is processed in the sub function will return to the main function as is shown in this arrow mark. So a function can return a single value to the calling program, which is the main function, using the return statement. In the above program, the value of add is returned from the user-defined function to the calling program using the statement below, return add. So this statement is for returning the value to the main function. In the above program, that means this program, the value add inside user-defined function is returned by calling function. The value is then stored to the variable sum. It's basically simple program like the hash include input output stream using namespace std, defining the variables integer add integer one, like integer main program sum is equal to add of number one number two. So this add is a user function. The control will jump to the sub function integer add integer a integer b. So the functions will be done here. It will be like say some add is equal to a plus b. So then return add, the value will be stored as a plus b here. This will be returned to the main function. The simple problem. Notice that the variable retained, that is add, is of type integer and sum is also of integer type. Also notice that the return type of a function is defined in function declaration. Integer add, so defined here. Before the add means the function should return a value of integer. So you already defined the a and b also as integer. If no value is returned to the calling function, then the void can be used. See a problem. Yeah. So you have a hash include input output stream using namespace std, integer add, integers is a function declaration, integer main, integer number one, number two, number sum. It's the same thing which we learned before. It's a demonstration like the problem. So okay, enter the numbers to add. We have the input function number one number two, sum is equal to add of number one number two, out sum. So when this is executed, this is executed, the from the main function the control will jump to the sub function. So this will be performed as I told before. Add is equal to a plus b. Return add, the value will come to the category of sum, because sum is equal to add number one, number two. So the user here input the value of user input is 8 and minus 4, which on addition will result in the value of 4. It's a simple problem. There are different ways of calling a parameter. So we just learned that the actual parameters will call the foreign parameters. There are various ways by which the calling can be done. Call by value, call by pointer, call by reference. Let's see what it is. This method, called by value, copies the actual value of an argument into the formal parameter of the function. In this case, changes made to the parameter inside the function have no effect on the argument. It's very clear. That is, this method copies the actual value of argument into the formal parameter. The value in actual will be transferred to the formal parameter. In this case, changes made to the parameter inside the function have no effect on the argument. So, whatever changes made inside this one won't have any effect on the argument. Called by pointer. This is basic theory. So, we will do a problem with this one, which will make you more clear. In the call by pointer, this method copies the address of an argument into the foreign parameter. So we already learned what's point. It's basically the address transfer or use of address. Okay. So this method copies the address of an argument into the formal parameter. Inside the function, the address is used to access the actual argument used in the code. This means that changes made to the parameter affect the argument. So basically, the this is based on working on the address where it's saved. So any changes in the usage function will change the value in that address, and correspondingly the value will change. That's the main takeaway from the call by pointer. Call by reference, this method copies the reference of an argument into the formal parameter. Inside the function, the reference is used to access the actual argument used in the code. This means that changes made to the parameter will affect the argument. So the call by value, the changes made inside this parameter won't affect the main values, but in call by pointer as well as call by reference, the values will be changed, which will be seen in the coming problems. So again, the call by value method, first one, of passing arguments to a function copies the actual value of an argument into the formal parameter of the function. In this case, changes made to the parameter inside the function have no effect on the argument. By default, C++ uses a call by value to pass the arguments. In general, this means that code with a function cannot alter the arguments used to call the function. Consider the uh, below problem. Okay, call by value and demonstration. You see the problem. Hash include input output stream using namespace std ending with the semicolon. Function declaration. This won't be read by the compiler. This is only for the user to know, as it is with the double forward slash. Okay, this is read by the compiler. Void swap integer x integer y. This is the function declaration. Okay. So this will be executed first after this running statement 1, 2, 3. The fourth control will be on the integer main bracket, curly bracket, local variable declaration. This won't be read by the compiler as it is in the forward slash. Defined integer at 100, integer be 200, read by the compiler. Okay, see out before swap value of a. So this will be there as such. A. So directly A value is 100. So we'll see the outputs parallelly. So this will be very clear to relate. So before swap value of A. So here output before swap value of A 100. Very clear. Next is before swap value of B. Here it comes to here. B is 200. Okay. So Okay. Next, this won't be read by the compiler as it is in the double forward slashes. Swap AB. Okay. So we have swap AB. This all comes in the main function. This is the main function. This length is swap AB. So this is the calling. So this control will go to the user defined function swap AB. So this will be having some changes in values. We'll see that one. So in this case, yeah, same like the we have what A100, B100, B200, AB. AB is AB are the actual parameter. X and Y are the formal parameters. Void swap integer X, integer Y, integer temp. The defined and temp inside the uh, is a different function. Temp equal to X. So the value of temp will be, so here the 100 will be assigned to X. X will be 100 and the Y will be 200. So in this statement, the temp value will be equal to X. So 100 will come to the temp value. In next statement, X equal to Y. So we had 200. So 200 will come to the X. So new value of X is 200 here. Temp is 100 here. Then Y is equal to temp. So temp value is 100. So Y value is 100. So this is the swapping which we learned in the practice problem of the module 1. Then return. Okay. So after swap value of A is 100, after swap value of B is 200. So yeah, so this control will come to swap and then this is printed. After swap value of A, value of A is, this is where you have to see very carefully. See, even in this program, there is swapping or changing happening. Directly the A value is printed. A is 100 and the B is 200. So I think now it's clear for you. So this means that whatever changes done inside the user defined function won't be seen in the main function in the case of call by values. We'll see the same problem with the call by reference as well as call by pointers. In the call by pointer method for passing arguments to a function, it copies the address of an argument into the formal parameter. So it's all about apply with the address. Inside the function, the address is used to access the actual argument used in the code. This means the changes made to the parameter affect the passed argument. To pass the value by pointer, argument pointers are used or passed to the function just like any other value. So accordingly, you need to declare the function parameters as pointer type in the following function swap. Okay, we'll see the problem. It will be clear. Okay, so the header, it won't be read by the compiler. This is correct. Okay, yeah. Here only starts the difference. So to define as address pointer, integer star x star y is a pointers. Integer main, compiler won't read this one. Integer a 100, 200. Before swap, we'll see the output also parallelly. Yeah. Before swap value of a, before swap value of a, directly the a value 100. Then before swap value b, before swap value b, directly the value 200. Okay, now up to here it's clear. Then calling a function to swap the value. So this won't be read by the compiler. This is for our understanding up here. Like the ampersand a indicates pointer to a, an address of variable a, and ampersand b indicates pointer to b, the variable of a. So basically they're the address pointers. Okay. Okay, so we already learned this one during our pointer session. Swap ampersand a ampersand b. So the control will jump to the user defined function. The previous one, like the values, that means temp equal to star x. So x was having a value of 100. Temp, new value of temp will be 100. New value of temp. Then star x is equal to star y. So new value of x will be the y value 200. then star y is equal to temp. The value is 100. So here the new value of x address is 200, new value of y address is 100. This will be transferred to the main function. Okay, because of this ampersand and this pointers type. That's why after swap value of a, 200 is coming x, and after swap value of b, 100. So this is basically the difference between calling options, whether it's value or pointers. Same thing with the reference method. The call by reference method of passing the arguments to a function copies the reference of an argument into the forward parameter. Inside the function, the reference is used to access the actual argument used in the code. This means that changes made to the parameter affect the passed argument. Pass the value by reference. Argument reference is passed to the functions just like any other value. So accordingly, you need to declare the function parameters as reference types as in the following function swap. So we'll see the problem directly. Yeah, we'll see the outputs also. Okay, okay. This won't be read by the compiler. Okay, okay. This won't be read by the compiler. Integer a 100, b 200. Before swap value of a, so it will be 100 and 200. Before swap value of a is 100. Before swap value of b is 200. This won't be read by the compiler. It's for your understanding. Swap AB. So you don't need an ampersand in the case of reference. Okay, after value. So the control from here will jump to the yellow shaded portion. Temp x. So 100 will be the new temp value. New x value will be 200. New y value will be 100. So here the values got change inside this program, and as it is defined in the reference. Okay, by reference using this ampersand integer. Okay, you should not previously use the star here as a pointer. Now using ampersand here. It's called as the call by reference. Directly after swap value of a, after swap value of a will be 200, the new value, and after swap value b will be 100. There's a change in the values. Okay, 100 got changed to 200, and 200 got changed to 100 due to the call by reference option. Okay, we will stop for today. Thank you.